Okay, welcome to another episode of the Memery Hole, June, week 3. Just two of us this week.
We don't even know what's his excuse this time.
Busy. Too busy.
Too busy.
Utter scum.
Yeah, subhuman scum.
Not him. UK journalist slammed for suggesting Harry and Meghan should have named baby after George Floyd.
I meant him.
What a missed opportunity. They could have called it Georgina Floydina.
I think they should have renamed the Queen George Floyd.
And to get everyone on side.
I don't know, because didn't they name the kid after the Queen? It would have been a quid pro
quo.
Yeah, it would have been a nice little exchange.
Mm.
You see, Charles has been accepting bags of cash.
What for?
I don't know. He got given like a few. He accepted like €3 million in bags of cash, like in Fortnum and Mason bags, from the Prime
Muslim
Minister.
Brotherhood.
Basically, yeah, Prime Minister of Qatar.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, just bags of loose cash. It's like something out of, I don't know, but it's not cricket, I reckon.
Definitely not. To think when we met, you were worried I came from Iran. I said I used to be a man. Oh God. That definitely wouldn't fly today, would it?
I think that's the one that's not. It's been memory hold from 4OD. I don't think that exists anymore on streaming platforms.
Silliness.
I know.
My parents at my age, let's buy a house. Yes. Me at my age, I will never financially recover from this buying a Lego Millennium Falcon. You know how like people go, oh, you could buy a house back then, and then some idiots will go like, well, because of inflation, it's actually the same. It's like, but I was looking the other day, it's like pricing to buy a house. The average wage a year was like $3,000 in like the 50s, $3,000 a year, but the price to buy a house was $9,000. What's the average salary now? It's like $30,000, but the average house is way more than 3 times your average salary. So it's like inflation is like such an evil.
Yeah, you could like work in a sewer and still afford a house back then, sort of thing. Like I've got relatives who just worked in shops that managed to buy 2-bed houses and stuff. It's just like that's not inflation, is it? Unless I'm in the wrong job.
This Facebook poll. I think it is as nature intended, but do as you wish. If there are consequences, live with it. Remember, it was your choice. Otherwise, if 20 years down the line there was no problem, enjoy. Your life expectancy being 24 is as nature intended. Shh. Also, women healthcare professionals have been doing this for longer than 20 years. Shh. I don't even know what this is in relation to. But life expectancy was never 24. Like, people lived a lot longer than 24. It's just that there were so many dead babies back in the day, and this was before abortions, that that it brought the average down to like 20 when lots of people made it past 20.
Didn't like Plato live to like 80? Like living to 80 in Roman times is pretty normal.
Well, Noah was like 900 or something.
You see Greta at Glastonbury flaunting her book.
Oh, yeah.
She's like the new Noah, isn't it? But the inverse and autistic. And selling books about it. I guess Noah was selling a book, probably.
You see some more rugged masculinity.
What are the effects on this?
I don't know. Pathetic. God, Amy
Did you watch the rest of Thingy's training videos with him? Epic meal time.
I think I only just watched the one that they released. Was there other videos released?
There's 4 in total.
Oh, I didn't see them all. I should watch those.
And only 3 have Sam Hyde in, but the 4th one he goes back to his normal trainer, and he doesn't slate him off. To be fair, he's kind of like supportive of Sam Hyde's animalistic technique, but some of it he's just like, I don't know where he's getting this from. Like that's like the opposite of what he should do. But most of it, he's like, yeah, he came back definitely better than when he went out. So who am I to say?
I was watching an interview with him yesterday, and he was saying, like how a lot of boxing coaches and stuff, they're like 5'8" and like trying to teach someone who's like 6'4" how to box. It's just you move differently, so like that's what he needed to teach him, how to move as a boxer, as someone who's that big.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what the fuck to do if someone 6 foot something started just like whelping on me like that. I was like, remember your training. Just wouldn't cut it, I reckon.
It's WikiHow, part 1 of 3, accepting your death.
What's the plant pot? I feel like the plant pot's central to that. Oh.
Because that's
is that her? Or is that a palm tree behind an urn that she's looking at the urn that she's going to be put in?
Is this a WikiHow for how to come to terms with one of those being turned into a tree after you die, like you put your ashes in some fertilizer?
I've always wanted to be shot into the space. I always thought that would kick off at some point.
That'd be so expensive.
Yeah, I guess so, but hopefully we'll be firing all our trash up there at some point. What other WikiHows are there? I feel like WikiHow, this is kind of what WikiHow is, this sort of wild. Like, it isn't like WikiHow, how to do algebra, is it? It's all like WikiHow, how to remove a jam jar out your ass.
Let's click random and see what we get. How to prepare your hair for bleaching. That seems pretty practical. How to study metaphysics.
It's wildly different, isn't it? Yeah. Top
Learning
10 WikiHows.
Number 1, introduce yourself to some of the basic metaphysical concepts. Learn how to tell whether an object is abstract or concrete.
Some of these steps take 5 years. 3,
study quantum physics. 4, research cosmology and cosmogony. 5.
Imagine someone's doing their PhD and it's just like they're just going home ticking off the WikiHow when they get home. Like, all right.
Consider whether you believe in determinism or free will. Number 6, study the relationship between metaphysics and religion.
Surely determinism, if you've gone up for the WikiHow, was maybe that was the free will to go to the WikiHow, or was it determined that you were going to be studying?
There's one here for how to perform the Tashahhud prayer. Tashahhud, specialized Islamic prayer, which is recommended but not compulsory for Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, arrange to wake up after midnight. Number 2, perform wudu. I think that's washing face, arms and head, feet and ankles. Go somewhere clean, quiet and dignified to conduct your prayer. Remove all worldly worries from your heart. And saying it. How do I say it? You're not going to... I even got the fucking prayer written out.
How to listen to music.
Is that one?
That one. yeah, wikihow.com/listen to music.
How to use fresh aloe vera.
Ooh. Step 1, do degree in quantum physics.
This could be an entire episode in and of itself, just going through these random articles.
Yeah, one is how to trick people into thinking you're possessed. That's a pretty solid one. How to walk. Some of these are just a bit like.
That's like Alan Partridge, Nomad. The bit at the beginning.
Yeah. Get the stick.
Lift one leg and place it in front of the other. Repeat repeat the step over and over. What I'm describing is walking.
How to apologize to a cat. Lynn, you can apologize to a cat.
Let's move on. 30-year-olds in 1981. Holy shit, she's unbearable. I can't believe I married her just because I knocked her up. I hate my life. My job pays well, but I spend all the money on this house and this kid. I feel like I grew up so fast. There was never any time for anything fun. If I would just wore a condom that night, my entire life would be better. Money doesn't buy happiness. I wonder if I could get away with having an affair. That would be a nice break from my lifetime of poor decisions. I need to keep reminding myself that I got to do is just get the kids to college and then we can get that sweet, sweet divorce. 30-year-olds in 2021. Honey, I know we're stuck in this apartment because we're both barely scraping by and paying off student loans on crappy wages, but look, I made us this pizza. Holy shit, yes, I love you. I regret to inform you that the left has been trying to meme again.
Yeah, left meme alert.
Don't you think that, like, the money doesn't buy happiness is, like, just a massive cope?
Yeah, I've definitely got happier the more money I've made in my life, and the reason I do a lot of stuff is to get happier by making more money so I can do more fun things.
Like, I feel like it was like a massive psyop. Like when we were kids, like, do you remember like in like cartoons, like some character would come into some money or something, and then by the end of the episode they've lost it all. And it's like, well, now I've learned a valuable lesson that money didn't make me happy. It's like, yeah, it probably didn't make you happy over like the course of a day, maybe after you've lost it. But like, if you have a sustained amount of money where you can do more things, and ultimately, I guess you can help more people, have more friends, just improve your entire quality of living, that doesn't have any connection to your happiness whatsoever. Is that what we're supposed to believe? It's just, it's just a psyop to help to make the poor think that being poor is an okay state of being.
Yeah, you could definitely like the whole thing about how they say universal basic income we'll all be dancing on the beaches, writing poetry and having a great time. Surely that shows that money can buy you happiness. So really,
wouldn't it just turn into a massive Jeremy Kyle though? Like everyone would be on benefits and everyone would just have heroin addictions and
everyone's
13
like,
kids.
We haven't tried UBI yet. It's like we've been trying it for like 60 years and the results are awful. Yeah.
If a professor says something that students find offensive, should that professor be reported to the university? So liberals and liberal-leaning, 85% say yes. Conservatives are more split, 50-50. And then independents are also pretty bad, man. Like, these numbers are terrible.
Yeah, everything's lurched to one side, hasn't it? What's that Chinese word that sounds like the M word? That guy who was teaching Chinese got complained about. It sounds like the M word.
Niga.
Yeah. I interviewed this philosophy student that got sacked from his job for saying some stuff at one point. This was years ago. But our whole talk was about how like intention no longer matters. It doesn't matter. All that matters is how it was taken. Like the actual person's intention is no longer at all part of the debate whatsoever. So a Chinese teacher saying Niga, trying to teach you Chinese, is bad because it sounds like a word that offends you.
Mm-hmm. It's like so we're in like Dungeons and Dragons and people say a certain incantation and they throw a fucking 12-sided dice, and if it comes up, unless it comes up as 12, you're going to get sacked, and because you said the wrong magic word. It's Wingardium Leviosa, not Wingardium Leviosa.
not Wingardium Levy beep.
Step 1. Feds did not infiltrate the very MAGA groups they blamed for January 6. Step 2. Yeah, they did, but it's not a big deal. Step 3. It's a good thing, actually. Step 4, people freaking out about it are the real problem.
That's our comrade who isn't here's favorite thing, isn't it?
The steps, yeah.
The steps of shifting the conversation to the point where stop hitting yourself.
Yeah.
Sort of way of dialogue.
Yeah, it's rather annoying.
I'm going to go Pride this weekend, and I wonder if I'm going to be like, I can't remember what show it is, but where the guy gets offended that he didn't get molested. It might be It's Always Sunny, but I wonder if I don't get twerked at by the end of it. Maybe I'm going to be all like, "Why did I get twerked at?" Looking there to get offended, but actually not.
I mean, I caught a bit of Pride in London. You going in London?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was walking through and I was just like, there's fucking pups everywhere. Like, it's just so bizarre.
Yeah. Was that what they were fighting? I reckon if that's what they were fighting for, they wouldn't have got this far. Sort of thing, really. Is there a Pride in Japan?
I don't think so. It's still pretty low key here. Japan, I think, just recently had a vote on whether they should allow gay marriage, and they were like, no.
I bet there's loads of Ukrainian flags this weekend, even though Ukraine doesn't allow gay marriage either.
Annalise Dodds. Today I'm proud to launch some Labour MP, I think. Today I'm proud to launch Stronger Together, Labour's roadmap to a fairer, more secure future. When the pandemic hit, Britain was too divided, but the way we responded proved we achieve incredible things when we come together. Let's bring Britain together for a better future. How can you look at the situation and think that things were brought together? Okay, let's take a look at Labour's new Stronger Together roadmap. We'll bring Britain together for better jobs and work, a green and digital future. Oh, that sounds awful. Safe and secure communities, public services that work, a future where families come first, Britain in the world. Let's build a future to be proud of. Like, this is all meaningless nothingness, right?
Yeah, it's so nebulous. Britain in the world, I think that's a given. Better jobs and work. Again, it's sort of like suggesting that people don't like where they're at or aren't already kind of, able to make themselves better if they want to. A green digital future sounds awful, like you're saying. That's
they're kind of at oppositions to each other as well, because you can't have a digital future without massive energy production, and you're not going to have massive energy production if you follow a green environmental policy. Like, look at Germany. Like, it tried to get rid of nuclear and be entirely reliant on solar and wind, and now it's like absolutely buggered and having to like buy energy from neighbors and stuff because those aren't reliable sources of energy. It's intermittent. You can't rely on it. You have to have some kind of fossil fuels that back up those kinds of things. It's just
all those green agendas, like back in the early 2010s, were all funded by the Russians in some way as well. Like they were really trying to wean us off all these actual useful ways of powering our homes and our lives. I think Greta's even getting investigated for one of the NGOs that she worked with for a bit of Russian meddling at some point and all that sort of stuff. So it's always the stuff they accuse you of is actually what's been happening with them somehow. I don't know how they do that. It's kind of quite
projection
in a way. It is projection, yeah.
It's like it's like this idea that if you accuse somebody of the thing before they get to accuse you, then it sticks, I guess.
Public services that work. I guess that's fair enough. But again, how are you going to do that? It's rough out there in the trenches. I'm tired of telling people you're not a pedo. What is this? If you secretly are behind the scenes, I'm going to feel real stupid if that comes out. It's our favorite nonce. Yeah, fair enough.
I mistakenly watched like a VAUSH debate last night. I fell down like a little rabbit hole. Basically, Sam Hyde was being interviewed by Destiny, and then a suggested video came out of Destiny like reviewing some debate that VAUSH had about whether trans women are women with this philosophy professor and stuff, and I feel like brain cells were lost like listening to him. He was basically saying that he was like saying that the periodic table is completely arbitrary, and we only arrange it in a way we do is because of the usefulness to us. Therefore, it's a social construct and arbitrary. So we can't even like. He was like, it's like, no, mate. Like the periodic table of elements is arranged because of how the electrons are arranged in those elements, and we're able to predict using the periodic table, we were able to predict the properties of as yet discovered elements, discovered those elements, and they had properties.
Yeah. So he's trying to like flip reverse bloody turning all the elements into gold sort of stuff. What's he talking about there? I don't know.
He was just saying it's all things that we refer to as humans. There's no, I guess, reality there. Like,
I hate people that
but it makes no sense because he's trying to prove that trans women are women, and he can't even prove. He was saying like, the professor said like, oh, can we agree that water is H2O? And it was like his response to that was, no. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, all you have to do is cross the border to Mexico, where agua is H2O. And it's like, what kind of sophistry are we playing here? So there's a difference between the name of something and the actual thing. Like, anyway, that's a bit of a tangent, maybe. But yeah.
So it's rough out there in the little kids' trenches of their arseholes.
It's just
is that what we're saying?
Some F-15. What's Aleppo?
You know what? It was actually quite funny. The G7 lot trolling Putin, talking about how we need to show our pecs and get their tops off. I think ultimately that it's probably very unwise, but it was good to see those guys getting on for once. And Ursula, what's her face, the EU one that has no personality, all she had to say was, horse riding is an excellent sport. That was her only bit of banter to the whole thing, which was barely banter. I don't know. I don't know what was going on with that G7 meeting. All ties were off though.
It's now quite plain to me, as the shape of his head and the way his hair grows also testify, that he is descended from the Negroes who accompanied Moses' flight from Egypt, unless his mother or paternal grandmother interbred with a N-word. Now this blend of Jewishness and Germanness on the one hand and basic Negroid stock on the other must inevitably give rise to a peculiar product. The fellow's opportunity is also N-word-like.
Who is this?
I don't know, someone talking about...
This was just a message from our comrade who wasn't here, isn't it? This is just a standard WhatsApp message.
Is that is that statue 1-to-1, do you reckon?
He was
Big Boy Floyd.
Big Boy Floyd for a reason. I feel like they did him dirty in the pants department from what I've seen.
A life cut short, we'll never know what could have been.
Whenever I said that to my friend quite, well, I think probably every year now, and he gets well angry at me. Do you reckon like the woman who, that pregnant woman who got the gun against her stomach put by him, do you reckon she like gets told off for hating on him still, or does she have to like him now?
Not sure, maybe she gets a pass.
I think maybe she gets a pass. There were some kids who were talking about how George Floyd was their dad and stuff, and how like their mum was like, "Do you know who that is? That's your dad." And they were like they were like on some LA News network thing where they're talking about like, "We're here for our dad. We didn't even know he's our dad," and it's just like,
oh my God.
Ooh, blue plaque rewrite for the ENID
yeah.
BLYTON.
Enid Blyton's work labelled racist and xenophobic in Blue Pack rewrite. So this was so crazy, right? So I commented, I will be waiting with bated breath for the review of Karl Marx's Blue Plaque. Enid Blyton wrote children's stories. Marx also wrote stories for children, but ended up in the death of millions. Oh, that's what this quote is from. So this is a Karl Marx quote, top left. So this is Karl Marx talking about
George Floyd.
Those kinds of people. So I'm using the N-word, being pretty racist, I guess, and then I was yeeted off Facebook for a few days for going against their community guidelines. I don't know quite what I did wrong. All I did was post what Marx had said.
Yeah, you can't actually tell people what he said. There's a whole like thing on Netflix where it's talking about internet culture being really toxic and all that jazz. And it was like saying how the Jewish question always comes up and how that's an illusion. It's like a dog whistle. The whole thing is if you can hear the whistle, you're the dog, right? But like they're saying that that's like a far right sort of thing that sort of shows that they're talking about holocausting people and all that sort of jazz, which they probably are. But the first person to write anything titled The Jewish Question was a guy called Marx. He wrote a whole essay called The Jewish Question, where he talked very badly about Jews at quite length. So the thing about anti-Semitism is that it goes from both ends, doesn't it? That's the special thing about it.
Don't say horseshoe theory, though.
No. I don't know what a libertarian is. At this point, I'm afraid to ask. It's someone who shits their pants on purpose,
usually in crowded spaces.
Because they can.
Rising real estate prices are stoking fears that the American dream of home ownership is slipping out of reach of the low and moderate income Americans. That may be so, but a nation of renters is not something to fear. It's that 4 steps.
Mm-hmm.
Why become a nation of renters exactly? Like, what's the benefit of becoming a renter over an owner?
I don't know. I think we need to get rid of all opinion from the news. Soon as, because it's like, why would anyone, when I'm writing stuff, I'm like, I don't know shit, really. Like, surely these people would know they know shit as well, but it just spreads badness in the world. I have no idea why you become a nation of renters. It would just be because they all hate landlords.
Yeah. Except when they're massive mega corporations.
Do you see all that stuff about how everyone's like saying, like championing how all these corporations are going to pay for abortions? It's just like, this sounds so dark to me.
Oh yeah, they're going to pay you to go across state lines. They're not going to pay for your healthcare in normal circumstances or a wage rise, but they will pay for you to go abort your baby so that they can extract more labour from you. Literally.
Yeah, that seems so... Yeah, wait. Less labour is more labour. On this day in COVID history, a child celebrity said our bad relationship with nature caused COVID. No indication she meant gain of function research. 16 friends got COVID, they all survived. A study said if masking reached 80%, we solved COVID, no retraction was made. Oh, this is a response to Greta. These outbreaks are manifestations of our dangerously imbalanced relationship with nature. They're a result from destruction of nature, according to UN and WHO.
What nature has been destroyed though? Like, if you leave like some modern building, what happens to it?
Yeah, it gets reclaimed by...
Basically just turns back into a jungle, like...
Pretty quick.
Nature doesn't care about us and will continue to live on without us. And there's nothing we can do to destroy it. We can destroy our ability to live in that nature, but you can't kill nature.
Yeah, the planet doesn't give a shit what happens. We only want to make nature suitable for us at the end of the day. No one's going to be complaining when we terraform Mars. Maybe they will. Actually, I don't know anymore.
Haha, this game is scary. The creator is Republican.
I remember in my teenage years telling people that about Urban Outfitters as well, the clothes shop. It was owned by a Republican guy in the US, and they were just like ignored that and kept shopping there.
Was that true, or was you just trolling?
It was. I thought it was true at the time. I can't remember now. It was ages ago. No, I don't think I was just trolling. I think that's what. I think that was the beginnings of me, finding out stuff like that.
What was the purpose of making Juneteenth a national holiday? White people don't deserve Juneteenth off. Black people should be off and compensated on that day. Pay our rent. Let us out of prison. A national holiday literally means nothing.
Let us out of prison.
Why would there be so many people in prison?
That's a spicy take. Imagine saying that on Juneteenth. Imagine a white guy saying that on Juneteenth. We should let them all out of prison.
White men should solemnly commemorate Juneteenth by staying home from work and reflecting on their racial sins, especially white men who maintain power grids, sewer systems, airlines, mass transit, internet, hospitals, fire departments, ambulances and police departments. That's an odd take. Like, it's trying to mix the sort of critique of feminists trying to just go after high-paying, safe jobs with something about a black holiday. Like, this tweet just seems retarded.
So it's trying to make a point about all the good things that have happened with some sort of involvement with white men or whatever.
I'm pretty sure black people do all those jobs as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what it's not. Also, who still capitalizes internet? That's rogue.
Anyway.
Yeah, because he's missed all the actual, you know. I suppose they are the jobs that are quite vital, but he's missed the normal ones you go for, like, you know, working on like a oil rig and all that sort of jazz.
Also seems to be completely unaware that those people will still work during national holidays that already do exist. Like, even on Christmas, there's people who are doing all those things. So it's not like we have a national, this particular holiday, everyone's going to be off.
Yeah.
Just fucking dumb point. How convenient that every financial publication came to this conclusion simultaneously. America should be a nation of renters. Yeah. BlackRock is not ruining the US housing market. The real villain isn't a faceless Wall Street Goliath. It's your neighbours and local government stopping the construction of new units.
That is literally like... so obviously an ad, isn't it? Like, what the fuck? Under ideas. What the hell? Derek BlackRock Thompson. So what is it? It's like BlackRock. There's like 3 of these big Goliaths that basically are kind of in control of most of the stuff going on.
I think so.
I can't remember their names. BlackRock. But this isn't something that's ever going to change, is it? So it's kind of like it's also not a name like which people would know about. So
which is that?
Were they getting attacked for something back this time last year? Like I don't know if anyone would know what BlackRock was really in my wider circle without speaking to anyone.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those issues that sort of cropped up for a bit, and then people were suddenly experts on landlords.
This one looks like a good one though. Cringe Fringe.
I'll make it a bit bigger.
I realised that's what happened when I full screen this whole thingamajigger. It stops my recording for some reason.
Odd.
It's a lesson to learn.
Cringe fringe. Mentally deficient? Not academically, only in a pragmatic sense. Constantly seeking attention? Yes, and will attack you if you ignore them. Physically hideous? Usually. Argue in bad faith? No, they avoid arguing by shouting people down. Wealthy hypocrites? Sometimes they have daddy's credit card, at other times they live in one of San Francisco apartment. NIMBY morons? Oh hell yes. You wanna read the next one?
Yeah, breadliners. Mentally deficient, yes, and compensate with empty verbosity. Constantly seeking attention, yes, to the point where their own fans balk. Physically hideous, always. Argue in bad faith, yes, and attempt to profit doing so. Is that the
That's
nonce in
VAUSH.
chief? There it is, isn't it? Yeah, okay, yeah, cool, perfect. Wealthy hypocrites, sometimes, but never impoverished like the proletariat they pretend to adore. NIMBY morons, presumably. Unless it's a school.
Tankies. Mentally deficient? Yes, often due to head injuries, LARPing. No. Constantly seeking attention? No, too busy drinking imported vodka and listening to Soviet music on YouTube. Physically hideous? Sometimes due to the drug use and alcoholism. Argue in bad faith? They don't argue, too busy being drunk. Wealthy hypocrites? Not usually, but sometimes mummy buys them LARPing gear on eBay. And NIMBY morons, they want their backyard to be a debris field of crusted crap from the 1970s, so no.
Am I a tanky? Standard
Nah.
Lolber rules. Yeah. Mentally deficient? No. Constantly seeking attention? Yes, because those podcasts ain't gonna fund themselves. Physically hideous? Occasionally. Argue in bad faith? No, they at least attempt to engage in meaningful discussion. Wealthy hypocrites? Invariably. NIMBY morons? Ever see a rich liberal with a windmill nearby?
Actual hippies, mentally deficient. No, their drug use causes their neurons to transcend the mundane. Constantly seeking attention? Only from machine elves. Physically hideous. Constant drug use and farming keeps them looking young. Argue in bad faith. Yes, if they hallucinate and think you're actually a CIA agent. Wealthy hypocrites? Sometimes, but only the hippies in name around California. NIMBY morons? Not unless it throws shade on their weed garden.
Then last one, Starbucks Marxists, which there are so many of these now. Mentally deficient? Yes, in the most obvious manner. Constantly seeking attention? Yes. And suing people as well. Physically hideous? Always. Argue in bad faith? Nah, too busy screeching about the patriarchy or organic donuts. Wealthy hypocrites? No, but their parents are wealthy and disappointed. NIMBY morons? These inner city goons don't even know what a backyard is. I used to hang out with a bunch of communists, and they would sell drinks while also painting murals of Mao on the wall. And I just never really understood how they managed to get the two together. You know, if we're all in it, we're all in it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever met a communist who didn't turn out to be a complete insane person. I haven't met very many though, to be honest, thankfully.
I reckon this could kind of work as like a Scrabble board as well. I reckon you could probably, because I reckon some of like the Starbucks one, I reckon definitely has some overlap with the CIA stuff or something like that. Some of the insane stuff.
Wow, look at all these words. There's so many words here. So many words. So many that the person reading this will have to zoom in just to see what the hell I'm saying. This entire bubble takes up so much space that the artist will hardly have to draw anything at all. Isn't that neat? Comic artists should just do this instead of drawing or writing in any other way. Words. How part of it's coming out of the bubble. That's basically a leftist meme template.
Yeah, they keep going. They can never cut it out, can they? This is an aerial view of ancient Rome from 5,200 feet. This is the Times New Roman view of ancient Rome.
Isn't it funny how Times New Roman is like an old style of... It feels pretty like, classic, but it's the new version.
Yeah, I've no idea.
Is there a Times Old Roman?
Surely that's just in...
Times Old Roman font. Well, there's a Times Roman, which looks almost the same. I actually had a game on my Switch, which, what was it called? You played like a little dot that moves through this world, which is, it's to do with like different typography. So it takes you through like the history of typography, and you have to collect all the letters in the world. And it like starts off with like old texts and Times New Roman, and then moves through to like futuristic, and then it like tells you about the the printing press, and very educational.
Yeah, like Futura had that sort of crazy Nazi phase, right? So the Nazis did that really old German style for a while, but then they were like, shit, we kind of need to look like we're the future as well. So they really loved Futura, I think it was, which also ended up being the one that we sent into space and stuff as well. Like some fonts have pretty cool histories when it comes down to it.
I can't find what the game was called. Never mind.
This Nixon one's pretty because I think he invented the term the media, innit? The press is the enemy, the press is the enemy, the press is the enemy, the establishment is the enemy, the professors of the enemy, professors of the enemy. Right on a blackboard 100 times and never forget it. Who was he saying that to? His wife.
Himself.
Okay, no. Yeah.
It's like fucking Bart Simpson at the start of
The Simpsons.
The press is the enemy, the press is the enemy.
The Nixons. I think all presidents have their own museum, and I think his one is one of the most emptiest of museums, which I feel a bit sorry for him for, because he had some pretty stellar lines. Should another lockdown be subject to a referendum? Did you share that? Because it's also like a poll.
A poll?
Yeah, it's like a poll on top of a poll, isn't it?
Yeah. 69%. In 24 hours, Dave Portnoy lost his Twitter, Brett Weinstein lost his YouTube, and former GOP Senate candidate Lauren Witzker lost access to Wells Fargo banking. Do you see what's going on? This was when they started really ramping up the sort of, we're going to ruin your life if you speak out against the COVID establishment.
Yeah, Ottawa police threatened to kill people's dogs, which I thought was quite, and the tweet's still up there, which is great. I checked it out the other day just to see if I'd imagined it. But they were like, if you go to the protest and we arrest you and you can't look after your pet, we're gonna take your pet. And if you're not out within a few days, we're gonna have to terminate your pet. It's just like, Jesus Christ.
That's dark.
Because imagine if like Trump, for example, had like seized the bank accounts of all the BLM protesters. Like that would have been met with such.
I don't think any of them have any money.
Yeah, good point, yeah.
Just take on loads of debt.
Yeah.
Oh shit, they're all in their overdrafts.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's some actual VAUSH arguments. Laughing my ass off, people saying sex work under communism wouldn't be consensual. It's a service people need like any other service. So yeah, you would conscript people into it, but you wouldn't force women to have sex with people if they didn't want to. Foreplay can be equally stimulating.
In principle, everybody is at least an what the fuck's that?
A phebophile.
A phebophile. That's just a fact. So why do these conservatives such a problem when you say, yeah, it's normal to be attracted to 15-year-olds, and I am, and fuck you for judging me for it out loud. If it's consenting, who fucking cares, dude?
People are actually debating if Lenin and Stalin are anti-trans. Look, I was just making a point on my stream. Read my theory, dude. Lenin literally says in Imperialism, the highest form of capitalism, he is totally down with it. Like 6 of the Politburo members were trans and or LGBT. Out of how many? Like hundreds, right? But the CIA used to literally topple regimes because they were 1, racists. 2, they wanted to siphon all the wealth off these places to their bank accounts. 3, they were Nazis who wanted to stop things like sexual liberation and age of consent laws changes because they would lead to communism.
There's so much redundancy in his arguments. Like,
yeah,
you don't need to say that they were racist and Nazis because Nazis are inherently racist.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he says the Politburo members were trans and or LGBT, but the T in there is for trans. So why do you need to add that in? It's like, it's just, none of it is like good faith argument.
And it's all redundant after the first one or the second one when he starts talking about nonsense kids being normal. Like, you know, I feel like that's a time when you kind of tune out to what comes next, right? Like, he's doing that whole Biden thing, like, come on, yeah, man, yeah, it's cool, man. Who fucking cares, dude? I'm just nonsense. Like, it doesn't.
But like, how as well? Like, in communism, it would be consensual, but we're going to conscript people. Like, do you not? It's like he has no understanding of what words mean, because you can't say that someone isn't being forced when the next word you say is they're forced.
Mm-hmm. How did this guy last so long before people started?
I think he just has a big audience of insane leftists, and particularly the trans ideology stuff, and he just toes a specific line, and people forgive him for being contradictory constantly.
It's that thing that you kind of learn when you're like a teenager, where you start learning that, oh, actually, if I just say words, it's better than being quiet all the time. But you're probably just saying words for the sake of it. He's still doing that. And I think that's what the internet's kind of normalised, is that if someone's just saying a load of words and creating a bunch of content, they kind of have some sort of value, even if it is completely valueless, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is a FEBO file?
A FEBO file, I think it's the... paedophile people kind of use that term to describe basically anyone between the ages of 1 and 16, or whatever the age of consent may be in wherever you are. Mm-hmm. But I think hebephile specifically refers to post-pubescent teenagers who are below the age of consent. But the fact that I know that difference is going to mean that people will call me a paedophile.
Yeah, it's proper splitting hairs.
Is it? Like, is it John Mulaney who has that joke?
Al? 1 second. Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, the US government has said it will offer gender confirmation surgery for transgender veterans through its healthcare coverage for the first time. Awesome. They should help them in more ways than this, though. The way vets are treated is... I didn't get the rest of that.
Oh.
He's disappeared. He's back.
Just got swatted for...
He's been swatted.
Yeah, like, it's probably like splitting hairs. What's that? What John Mulaney is saying? What was he saying?
I think it was John Mulaney made that joke about if you know the difference between paedophile and hebephile, you're going to be accused of being one of the two.
Because then after that one gets normalised, then they'll just make another term about the next bit, won't they?
Yeah. Like, why isn't that guy just like, why have this is how you know this guy's like a plant, some kind of psyop, because if anyone else said that who didn't have this like sort of power and influence within the sort of YouTube world, they would immediately confiscate this guy's computer and find what they can, because like this is a massive red flag, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just knowing he's into this means he's into donkey shit as well, because I met a guy whose job was to go through paedophiles' computers for the police, which in of itself is a proper red flag, right? Like, that's your job. Like, how did you, like, he must be, if he's the phoebophile, he's absolutely laughing. But he said there's always animal shit on these guys' computers as well, which I think actually hasn't he talked about this as well? Hasn't he even talked about horse shit, this dude? I swear he has. I swear he's talked about like bloody.
Oh yeah, VAUSH has a very disturbing preoccupation with bestiality and paedophilia.
Also, I'm just looking at ephebophilia right now. It says an adult who's primarily sexually attracted to adolescent boys.
Oh, I guess like the ancient Greeks and that.
In principle, everybody is at least an ephebophile. That's his take. That's just a fact. I'm not, mate.
Where's the thing of bestiality? VAUSH called a zoophilic drawing of a snake unironically hot. VAUSH joked about fucking dogs. VAUSH jokes about sexual activity with his geckos. VAUSH said horses like it when you slurp their balls. VAUSH said he doesn't believe bestiality is that serious a crime. VAUSH stated bestiality should probably be legal. VAUSH said I don't think bestiality is necessarily animal abuse. VAUSH said consent is irrelevant for animals. I don't think bestiality should be a crime.
When does it become animal abuse then? Is the next question to him, not thinking it's animal abuse. Like, how does he know that snake is loving it?
Well, I guess you could argue, like, if you stroke a dog's back, is that animal abuse if it doesn't like it? But it has no way to tell you that it doesn't like it.
Well, they do. They growl, don't they? And then you stop doing it. So it is what is the... Let's not go down his dirty rabbit hole.
I think he thinks of himself as like this fucking like uber philosopher guy who, oh, I'm just asking questions and shit. It's like, nah.
Yeah.
You're a fucking creep.
I was just search VAUSH book to see if there's like a book that he's got out. There's a Reddit page. I would personally love to see some of VAUSH's book recommendations. Christ. Yeah, so how do you reckon all these sort of plants will ever be found out? Do you reckon there's ever a sort of a way to sort of... Apart from the fact of the searing double standards... Is it like a combination of complete volte faces sometimes, sustained double standards, right?
It'll have to just be at the point where they become not useful to whoever they're useful to, and then something bad might happen.
What's his background? Where's he from?
I feel like I already know too much about this guy that I want to know.
Yeah. He just looks like a nonce.
He's a dick. He's always like combing his beard and stuff. It's like
he's got that proper noncy beard. He discusses politics online from what he describes as a libertarian socialist perspective. Those two things don't work in my opinion either, but I guess that's the smaller of the
his entire worldview is just built on contradiction after contradiction.
Doesn't say where he's from. Oh no, he's from LA. Okay, you're right. Yeah, he's a plant.
Kaczynski mimics the style of right-wing YouTubers and utilizes similar video titles, so his videos are suggested by recommendation algorithms to those at risk of radicalization, so he can radicalize them himself, I guess. Common strategy employed by the left-wing breadtube community on YouTube.
It's first time
He was
I've heard
banned
of
from
poetry.
Twitch for saying that US should invade Israel in defense of Palestinians, an incident which he later described as himself going too far, criticizing Israeli imperialism. So I guess his handlers didn't like that.
Yeah, you can't. You can talk about nonsense kids, but you can't talk about. That's interesting.
In December 21, was again banned from Twitch indefinitely for using the racial epithet cracker on stream while discussing whether or not a term is a racial slur and whether it should be a bannable offence following the ban of fellow Twitch streamer Hassan Piker for use of the term.
I thought cracker was like a honky tonky. I thought it was a white slur, that one.
What the fuck? Because he's a progressive and anti-fascist and libertarian socialist, he has also described himself as a dirtbag leftist and a big fan of democracy.
Okay, I think this whole thing here, like the mix of the medley of madness in those words there, I think probably shows a plant because it's just touching on. If you could have a map of tendrils, he could get himself into with those. He's quite able to sort of like cross into lots of different parties, isn't he? With that sort of ridiculous, broad.
Anyway,
beard.
giving that guy too much air.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a little... Oh, I think you owe Ann Coulter an apology. Well, I think it's a little disingenuous, but okay, I got the flag wrong, but we're not talking about that, are we? The point is that had these people been white supremacists trolling a neighbourhood primarily of colour, I would have been agnostic. It was a horrible incident. And I guess he must have said, I'm sorry that there's a Confederate flag there flying from their car, trolling that neighbourhood. Yeah, I don't give a shit, Anne. You should have mentioned that.
I got the flag. What?
I guess some people were flying a flag in some neighbourhood and someone thought it was a Confederate flag even though it wasn't a Confederate flag.
Have you seen Oxford Street?
No.
You know how everyone was saying literally Nazis during the Jubilee. They were like, "Oh my god, this is literally Nazi Germany."
Well, because we had Union Jacks up.
Yeah. They got some new flags this month.
What colour are they?
All the colours of the rainbow.
Plus pink, blue and brown.
And more now.
Yellow and blue.
They've got brown on, they've got black on, they've got blue on, they've got pink on. They've got an O on it now, which I don't really understand. Let me see if I could just pop it in the chat. But no one is, for some reason, saying this looks like Nazi Germany. I don't know why.
No, someone did say that it was like Nazi Germany, but got yeeted off Twitter.
Oh, they did. Yes, it's true. It's true. But the people that were saying it last week or a couple of weeks ago are no longer saying it. God, it is like... You know when you meet like those bloody acid hippies and they just say they're playing us all against us and all that sort of jazz? They might be onto something, you know.
Can I just Google Oxford Street?
Yeah, you know, it was doing one of those like web PH things, which I never understood. I've got a screenshot of it now, though. I've whacked it in the chat. I don't know what this new symbol on it is, but I don't suppose other people do either.
This yellow purple thing.
With the O.
Yeah. Let's have a look.
It looks pretty cool, but I thought like gay guys were quite stylish, and this flag is giving me epilepsy sort of vibes.
We don't actually have the Ukraine flag on here. So the new flag has incorporated a purple circle and a yellow backdrop to represent the intersex community.
Oh, is that purple in there? What's
How does
intersex?
that...
Intersex sounds like some shitty alternative 90s band.
Intersex is where you are born with unclear what your genitalia are, what your phenotypes are.
Like the actual only real one.
Yeah.
I guess fair enough then.
But it seems like, because I think recently people have been criticising the sort of trans activists because intersex was kind of the place where they should have been fighting the hardest, because that's like the clearest cut thing, as opposed to this whole, I feel a certain way internally, so Yeah, so I think their response to actually addressing the issue isn't to address the issue, but to just include it within their ideology. And obviously, they love contradiction. So
yeah, so yeah, someone got yeeted on Twitter for saying this looked like Nazi Germany, but when everyone said the Union Jacks looked like Nazi Germany, there was no such yeeting.
what's the brown for and the black? Is that Black Lives Matter?
Yeah. Don't know what the brown is. Let's have a look. What's the brown?
Shouldn't they have a Star of David on there if we're going to put oppressed groups on this flag? That's what it seems to be. It's not a pride flag. It's an oppressed flag.
Yeah, it's the people that got left behind sort of flag. Yeah. Well, I think you've told me a very long time ago about how anti-Semitism has that weird thing where the Jews they're either doing a really bad job or they're doing a too good a job. So it depends on what side of the spectrum you're on, how you see them. And I think this side of the spectrum sees them as doing too good a job, so they probably won't be in the oppressed side of things anytime soon.
But then why do they hate the Nazis?
Yeah, I guess we need to be. Yeah, I guess the Nazis are at least stylish, so maybe we don't have anything to fear about from these guys. Working excessive hours has long been thought to increase the risk of a depression. What? But after conducting a large level review of research in this area, researchers say there's a surprising lack of evidence supporting this link. Who said that? Whoever said that? Like, have they been to Japan? Japan exists. The hell?
What does that mean? You looked and didn't see any evidence, therefore there is no link. Like, come on. Absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence.
Yeah.
And look who's saying it. The WHO.
Mm-hmm. Who?
New scientists shilling the WHO. But it's just like... it also depends on the context, right? Like, if you work... what counts as excessive as well? Like, someone who's working because they love their job and, you know, they get, like, fulfillment and enjoyment out of working long hours and they get, like, you know, rewarded for that with good pay, probably not going to be depressed. Someone who has to work, you know, two or three part-time jobs because they have a family to look after, they're a single mother, probably going to be depressed because of the amount of work they're doing. Like, no one's... Like, why do they have to... Like, we have to knock down this, like, silly claim, like, working excessive hours has long been thought to increase the risk of depression. It's like, meaningless term, because the context matters completely.
I do think there's just a massive vacuum in our societies where people have no individual personality, so they're kind of gagging for people to tell them what their version of excessive hours is. And they have no real, you know... nothing we do is tangible anymore. So that you're not working in the field all day or like doing anything actual sort of that has like a process. Like I put this together, then I got this result. It's just all just PowerPoints, staring at PowerPoints all day. So I think a lot of people just looking or are very susceptible to collective mindsets now for this reason, because the wider experience is so similar, isn't it, for everyone now? And they're just taking advantage of that shit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Solidarity with the Amazon workers on Prime Day. We will still unionize despite the harassment we have been facing for it. Amazon corporates, no, please don't make me treat you like a human being.
This is not how this goes down, is it?
No. Apparently as well that like the vast majority of people who work for Amazon actually enjoy working for Amazon. Like, you hear these like crazy stories because, well, the media hates Amazon for some reason, hates Jeff Bezos. So any story that, you know, people being forced to piss in things, and they always think, oh, that must be company policy, as opposed to, perhaps they just have a shitty manager who isn't letting them take breaks. Not that Jeff Bezos is like orchestrating this, like, don't let anyone pee, we need maximum efficiency, I need to get to space, and the only way we do it is if we oppress all of our workers.
Yeah. Well, no one likes a good capitalist story these days, do they? That's the whole thing. And it's why like fat people get all the sympathy now, because they're sort of just viewed as having no agency over their bodies. They're just a victim of capitalism, and that's why you see any sort of protest these days takes place on somewhere like Oxford Street, where all the shops are and stuff like that. It's because it's all just anti-capitalist at the end of the day. All these little things. Saying that though, Jeff Bezos, when he came down from outer space with William Shatner, and asked William Shatner, like, how are you feeling, like, William? And he starts telling like this emotional story, and then he just turns. Jeff Bezos just turns around because everyone's like pouring champagne. Like he's like, give me a bottle of champagne. Just cuts him off and starts spraying champagne everywhere. And it's like, you're just a fucking tosser. Actually, you didn't give a shit about this old man. And also, he's a recovering alcoholic, and you're just like spraying champagne all over him. Just like. So I think also he's a tosser, but at the same time he does good business apparently. But you can have two thoughts in your head at the same time, right? You can hate the player but love the game.
Next time on the Memery Hole. Those are Drake memes.
Have a one-on-one conversation with Crowder. Hide behind Sam and call Crowder a coward. Is that what happened?
Yeah, so you got some guy who wanted to debate Crowder for ages. So Crowder agreed to do a debate with Ethan Klein, but then Sam Cedar, he just brought him out instead, like an absolute fucking cook.
God.
And then he was like, he was claiming like, oh yeah, we owned him and stuff, because then Crowder refused to debate him. It's like, well, you broke the terms of the agreement, so I'm not going to debate him. And they were like saying, he's running scared from Sam Cedar.
He even had such a downfall, didn't he? I always felt like, I don't know what he did.
He advocated for bombing. He got removed from YouTube for a bit because he advocated bombing people. Absolutely madness.
Is it just because eventually YouTubers grow up and become grumpy old men and become boomers?
I think it's that sort of pulling the ladder up after you kind of thing. Like, I got a following and doing edgy humour. Edgy humour isn't like amenable to advertising money, so I'm gonna shame anyone that does it to protect myself from the fact that I used to do it. I think.
Right.
'Cause I think if you get ahead of it, right, if you in their minds, if they get ahead of someone else bringing it up by accusing other people of doing it, they'll be like, well, he must have changed his ways because he's willing to throw other people under the bus for doing the same stuff.
Mm-hmm. You know, one thing, I've been subscribed to like PewDiePie for I reckon years, and I've never once ever been recommended a PewDiePie video on YouTube or on my homepage or anything like that. Like, how can they just do that?
Yeah, it's weird. Shame Jay's not here because he loves this black guy to the right.
Oh, I like that black guy, but I have no idea who he is. I thought he was like in my head.
Yeah, I don't think he's real. I think he's an AI.
Woke Disney XX, a toy called Slave One. Same Disney XX, slave labor in China.
Do you remember also last year this influencer who was trying to be trans-Korean?
Yeah, someone sent me this the other day. I'm like, where the hell have you been? Like, this is old news, yeah.
And you had the original trans woman, Michael Jackson. But yeah, we'll discuss all of those and more next week in further detail.
Stop right
there, smooth criminal scum.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, all that to look forward to next week.